it would be very hard.
Yeah, yeah,
Five.
yeah.
That's what I
I
was.
told him, I was like, I'm asking Joe if we could both go in together, and he was like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
he's one
sort
of
of
my
like a
closest friends, man.
location thing. Like it would
Yeah,
be just.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's one of our closest friends.
And he just started his thing with Geo, their podcast.
Yeah, they're talking in his
Yeah.
place. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. They got a good one going. They got a good trio too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what I was telling him. I said, I like your stuff. I listen to them.
Buddy.
Yeah, they're comical.
All right, you guys are good. You can count down whatever you want. 3, 2, 1. What up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Just Figure Out Podcast. Today we have a great guest with us. We have Steve Mitropoulos. Did I get that right?
You did.
Greek as hell, bro. Greek.
Yeah,
I like it.
Greek
I
and
like
Italian.
Got it,
Yeah, it's got the temper.
That's what's up. Greek as hell. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
Ooh,
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So, Steve, a lot of people don't know who you are, right? So, tell me a little bit about like who you are, what you do,
Yeah.
and how long you've been doing it.
So my name's Steve Mitropoulos.
Oh,
Online coach, bodybuilder. Been competing 13 years. I haven't for a couple years, but just been getting more so into the coaching side of things. That's kind of taken off. So been focusing more on that, and new dad. My daughter's a year old, so I've been focusing on obviously that too.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's pretty much
that's a summary of what's going on,
what
man.
I do. Yeah.
So, you said you stopped competing a couple years ago.
Yeah, I haven't competed. It's been 2.5 years.
Okay, and that's because like you know life has changed. Obviously, like, you had a daughter on the way, and then has it had anything to attribute to the amount of volume you're taking on as a coach?
Yeah, so my last show was Junior USA's in May of 21. So it's
Okay.
almost 2.5 years.
Mhm.
And then coaching took off. I was diagnosed with Lyme's disease right after that show, actually in June of 2021. So
Okay.
that hospitalized me for almost a week. They didn't really know what was going on with me. It took them about a month.
Mhm.
So I was dealing with like a lot of arthritic issues, things like that with it. So that was like the whole summer of 2021, and then 2022 coaching just kind of took off, and then last year was super busy.
Mhm.
It's hard, like when you prep for a show, it takes so much, right? It's like 4 or 5 months of like you're selfish, you have to become just by nature of what
Yeah.
what it entails, right? So I've always prided myself on being a selfless person, and becoming a dad is like the coolest job in the world, so I didn't want to prep last year while my daughter was in her first year of life, right? I didn't want to be selfish in that regard. My wife carried her for 9 months. I just kind of wanted the time to be for them, and seeing her, her first year. And then it just got so busy with clients competing, lifestyle clients and all that. And I mean, I just love what I do with coaching. So I wanted to, again, be selfless and give my time to that. So
So yeah, so with you coaching,
Yep.
are you just coaching like specific like bodybuilding, trying to go pro, like as in competitive? Like, are you just coaching competitive? Are you doing lifestyle? You
no, I
said
do everything.
so everything from top to bottom. Like if somebody wants to get in shape for a wedding,
Oh, yeah.
something like that. Okay.
In competing, what would you say was one of your biggest challenges?
Balance. Yeah, so I think when I was younger competing, like when I was 18, 19, throughout college, like up to 23, there wasn't much balance needed. It was get good grades, compete, focus on the show at hand. And then afterwards, like real life hits, right? So like, got engaged, had to, buy a house. My parents went through a pretty nasty divorce when I was 25. So that was 2018. So that kind of hit. That brought up like a lot of depression issues and things like that I suffered with in high school. We can get into all that too. So a lot of mental health things, and I'm like a huge advocate that mental health has to come first in anything in life, right? So that kind of made me had to grow up. We had to buy a house, right? Because I told my wife, I'm like, listen, we could barely make ends meet, right? But I didn't want to put the money into an apartment that we're not going to get back. I told her, so
Mhm.
let's just suck it up, suffer now, and we'll make it work. So when you're trying to grow up, man, a lot of like people that compete, they become selfish. It's like show, but you're not getting any money to compete, right? So I had to grow up quick. So
So
Okay.
so
Did you notice a mental strain when it came to your mental health in competing? Like was it becoming like wear and tear not only on the physical but on the mental aspect?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
And that's because of the drugs that we take 100%.
Okay.
They, yeah, not a lot of people touch on that, talk about that, and I think it's important.
Sure.
Um,
Well, today's the day, guys.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So
Be educated.
yeah, it's you know, a lot of people are so naive nowadays. We're in a generation of in a time of TikTok, Instagram. Those 18-year-olds taking all these steroids, all these dosages. They see say they see me, for example. They're like, oh, Steve's 250 pounds and he looks like that. He takes 500 milligrams. I have to take 1,000 because I want to get there twice as quick. And they don't understand that like their hormones, their brain chemicals, everything's not at a maturation level yet where you're maxed out. They just started driving, you know, like you don't even know how to parallel park and you're taking hormones that are, you know,
It's true.
messing up your you know, neurologically everything, and they don't know how to bounce back from it. And then most people have mental health issues that they don't want to talk about, right? It's
Correct.
such a taboo topic anymore. And it's like you just go from here to just digging that hole deeper
Sure.
and deeper.
Sure.
And then that's why a lot of people just we see a lot of people taking their own lives and such, you know, within the sport. And it's a shame because so many people just sweep mental health under the rug. And
Well, I think also society plays on people's insecurities as well.
sure does.
You know, like you said, growing up, just being a teenager, it's the most insecure time of your life. You
It
think
is,
you're ugly, you think you're too short, your
Yep.
skin is, you're already in such an insecure state, and
Yep.
then you're being told that you're weak.
Yep.
Or, you know, in order to get girls, you gotta have nice broad shoulders and you gotta be fit.
Yep.
As a guy, you're like, I'll do whatever it takes. And you're killing your liver and kidneys before you can even start drinking alcohol. You know what I mean? So it's very real. It's very real.
It's a
Thank you for the
shame.
transparency. But yeah,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So like mine started in high school, right? So I was like 110 pounds and, you know, throughout high school, and I was bullied. I never fit in, all this. And then I started to get, you know, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, all this. And then I just didn't want to live anymore. And it became real, right? And I never spoke up about it until it got too late one day, right? So I missed school for like 2 months. I was homeschooled, all this, psychiatric help, all this stuff. So that's when I started talking to a therapist, and it helped, you know. So you know, so nobody wants to talk like this, and that's the issue now.
especially men. This is why we're doing this too, especially
Yeah.
men. It's hard.
What would you tell a young bodybuilder who's getting into it and say to him, what warnings, what would you really say to him knowledge wise that you've been through now? Because
Yep.
you fell off this bike.
Well, let's just say it's your son.
Bike.
Let's say you have a son
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. What would you tell him, like something that you see after you didn't did it now that's not spoken on, it could be anything. You'll say, hey man, look out for this.
I would tell them you got to get into whether it's bodybuilding or anything for the right reasons. You know what I mean? Because that's number one. When you do something for the right reasons, you do it for the right purpose. And a lot of kids now, they see Chris Bumstead and they're like, oh, I want to look like that, right? So everything on social media is painted as a perfect world. And that would be big advice too. The grass is not always greener, and everybody goes through their own shit, you know, whether it's mental health, you know, issues in relationships, all that, right? So everyone's battling something on any given day. So that would be my biggest advice, right? The grass isn't always greener. Stay off of social media. And also, do not get involved with the hormone side of things until you know it's something that you can commit to.
Yeah.
100%. Blood work, you know, 4 times a year at least.
Even hormones, not to cut you off, even hormones, I feel like I'm just now learning about hormones.
Yep.
That we definitely weren't taught, because again, you were just taught I need to put on my, especially me, I was skinny. So I was told if I want to get bigger, eat a bunch of peanut butter and jelly, take a whole bunch of milk and protein.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Just do that shit.
It does work. Yeah.
They
It'll
don't
work.
but they don't teach you anything about the hormones and how your hormones affect your mental state,
No.
your emotional state. They don't tell you any of that. So I'm 29 now, just now learning. I'm like, I'm pushing into my 30s. My hormones are gonna be changing, and they're already and have been. So I'm like, whoa, like
Yep.
it's intense, it's real.
It is
Very
real. And
rare.
then on top of that, these kids are 19, 20. They're putting full steroid cycles in their body,
Straight up.
and they crash and burn.
Yeah,
And
straight up.
that they just not there needs to be more spoken about the
Absolutely.
real
I agree.
side effects of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's just one of my biggest things, like too, as a coach. Very, very very weary of coaching young kids, and you know, kids ask me all the time about steroids and all this, and I'm like, listen, like, I don't really think that that's a topic that even needs to be discussed.
Scary, man. To be in a state where you're like, I'm down to try it.
Yeah.
It's a very insecure state, or just a dark state to even want
If you want to try something, that's something you try creatine, right? You can do that for a year,
Right.
and you can come off of it. And sure, if your kidneys are elevated, you can fix that
Sure.
in a few months. You're fine. But when you're going and you're just
Sure,
taking a 6-month cycle of testosterone and orals and all this, and they don't even know the proper organ, support to take and all this stuff. They don't even know what blood work to get.
Absolutely.
And then they come off of it and there's no proper guidance of what to do after. And then they wonder why they're 20 years old and their testosterone levels are in the 100s,
Sure.
like they're 70 years old.
Sure.
Can't
Can't reproduce. There's a lot, and a lot of people don't even think of the after effects or the long term effects, the longevity behind this.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was going to sort of hit on what you were hitting on. So I stayed natural till I was 27.
Yep.
So when I came off of everything, I was able to maintain size. And I think, and you coach, so you're going to be able to correct me or whatnot. I think when these young kids take all this shit at a young age, they get so it becomes mental because you're looking at yourself. You're like, oh, I look at that. I should always look like this. Then when they come off, it's like a fucking 180, and they look at themselves and they're like, shit. Now the mental aspect kicks in where it's like I got to take double to get back, and it's just a downhill fucking slope on that.
This creates body dysmorphia.
I think it does.
But if everybody's doing it, and now everyone's doing it, but it's something that's not spoken about. We're talking about a taboo subject there. That means everybody knows everyone's doing it, but no one's speaking on it.
Yep.
Why is everyone in the bodybuilding world not speaking on something? But you're looking in the face of someone. Oh, I know you're doing it. Oh, I know you're doing it. You can see it.
I think it's just nobody wants to, like, death is real, and nobody ever wants to talk about, hey, if you abuse these drugs and these hormones for years, and you already have anxiety and depression, there's a chance that you're going to get worse and you're going to want to kill yourself.
Mhm.
And nobody wants to hear that and talk about that. And coming from someone who was suicidal and wanted to take their own life, I have no problem talking about that because it's as real as it gets.
Yeah, you've been there.
I mean, it people think I'm crazy when I say, like, hey, I've taken these hormones for years, right? But I've done everything the most there's no proper way to take drugs. You know what I mean? But there's a more responsible way, is what I always tell people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've done that, right? Like, I've never had wrong blood work. My daughter's healthy. I get my sperm checked when we're trying to have kids, like things like that, and everything is good, right? I've never had high blood pressure. I've get scans of my organs every year for the last 6 years straight. So I've had proper guidance, and that's what it is. There's not a lot of proper guidance. There's no entry. There's no barrier of entry to become a coach anymore.
Wow.
So you have somebody who's done one show. They might have done it wrong. They have no evidence of blood work or anything like that. And now they start coaching 10 kids that are 21. And they're like, take this, 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 and this. And it's just like a vicious cycle, right? So that's like what I see as the main thing now, right? And then nobody touches on mental health. No one wants to talk about it,
Yeah,
And it's the worst it's ever been, mental health now. It really is.
that's clear.
It's unfortunate.
That is.
People don't talk about it because they're insecure.
Yes. I think that's part of it, and I just think people are scared to face reality.
I think that, but I will even say I think people just don't care about men's lives. I think we live in a society where, unfortunately, in a man's life, unfortunately, it is most certainly pushed.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people now, like, so when was COVID?
2020.
4 years ago,
Mhm.
right? Me and my wife, we bought our house in 2019 and in November, and we lost our house. 3 trees crushed it in June of 2020. So we were going through COVID. I had no access to lift or anything, which is, for me, I got into weightlifting because it saved my life, which to me is a right reason. You know what I mean? Whereas kids now, they just get into it because they think it's cool, right? It's like the fashion trend now. And I tell people all the time, if I didn't have that shed in my backyard, I would have 100% been suicidal. If I didn't have those 5 pieces of weight equipment and I didn't have my father there, we lifted from 9 at night to midnight every night because everything was closed. No one was working. If I didn't have those dingy ass weights in that shed, I would have 100% probably tried to kill myself.
I fell back into it.
100%.
Wow. Yeah. And, unfortunately, a lot of people don't speak on the high rate of men committing suicide surpassing women.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just not talked about enough, but it is very real statistically. Men ending our lives a lot quicker than women.
Yep.
And you don't have to get into details. I would never tell you to do that. But I personally have never been to that point of suicidal, but I definitely have been to a point where I made my last prayers with God where I was like, Lord, if this is it, I'm cool with it. Like, if I really don't care if I do wake up after. I made my peace with that several times. And it was a very dark state, but at the same time, I think when you get to that lowest point, you begin to realize that there's nothing else left but the ground.
It's the truth.
When you get to the abyss, you realize there's nothing else left but the seafloor.
Yep.
It's like, it's either that resort Or now you just gotta start fighting up, and you see the benefit of people who actually stick through it.
Yeah.
They have a beautiful story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and they always have something special to offer to society
Yep.
and mankind due to their story.
Yeah, I mean, it's also taught me too, like, it's kind of better to just stay humble, quiet to yourself. I mean, you guys, well, Zach and you have known me a while, and
Yeah.
I've never been a loudmouth, or I kind of
Just except when you're squatting like 5-6 plates. I mean, I've seen some shit with this guy, but yeah.
Totally understood. I mean, you squat that much.
Listen, my man used to do this for reps. I ain't shitting
a
you.
lot of anger and
I'm not. He,
darkness though.
Too. That's another thing too. Now that, like, you've touched on that, is learning how to control aggression and rage and anger and put it towards something beneficial.
Sure.
And that's what I've learned. I'm very thankful for my dad teaching me a lot of that, and also to the therapists I had throughout the end of high school and into college. And even a few years ago, I talked to the same two women who helped me when I was suicidal in high school and into college. I stayed with them and spoke to them even when I was better, just because it helped every week to just let off controlled steam.
Sure.
And when my parents were going through their divorce and all that, and we lost our house and all that, I talked to those same two women, each one of them twice a week. So yeah, and it helps a lot. And I'm a huge advocate of that, talking to somebody. Even if you're okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why I think it's important to what we were saying probably in another podcast where you hear about a death or a murder, a senseless murder too, especially in Philly. Somebody died over they were disputing outside of the Poppy store and somebody got killed over something stupid. My mind is they didn't have nobody to talk to, and they definitely didn't have a gym. Because if you had a gym or somewhere where you could express yourself, you probably wouldn't have taken that person's life over something that stupid. Yeah. Now you're wasting your life behind bars.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people are pent up. A lot of men are just walking around miserable, angry, resentful, hateful, and with murder on their heart. And as a man, it's just naturally in us to be protected.
Yep.
So if you're in a state like in the hood, like Philly or somewhere, and something pop off easy, it's either my life or yours. But now your life's behind bars or you're dead. You know what I mean? So a lot of these dudes just need an outlet. They need to go to the gym. Again, this is more than just a gym for us. This is our therapy for us. Every Sunday we come to the gym together. But they're here also on their other days out the week. Yep. You just have to have an outlet. Go to the park. Go to the beach. Do something other than what you're always doing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of men have trouble reaching out to their other male counterparts and friends. Sometimes you reach out not because you want something, not because of the game, not because of a sport. Yo, man, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Yo, man, I know you're telling me you are right. Are you really all right?
What's up with you?
People are scared to be judged.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
and also pay attention to your homies too. Pay attention to their patterns and their rhythms. Like, what's up with you? What's really going on with you?
I ask people how they're doing I don't care, men or women.
You did it to me.
Say simple, Sometimes a simple text, or a message to somebody, "How are you?" Go a long way, because I know, because I can speak from personal experience with it. You know what I mean? I still, my anxiety now is still, it's horrible.
Sure.
It's horrible, and I haven't touched a steroid in almost 3 years.
Good for you. Yeah, and that's the earlier you were speaking about controlling your aggression and everything, and I think in the bodybuilding world that the compounds that these individuals take, I think it's very hard to even do that with that.
Yeah, I again, speaking from experience, when people are taking full steroid cycles, it magnifies who they really are. So if you are an aggressive person, if you are a loud mouth, all that, it's just going to make it.
It intensifies it.
Yeah, for me, I've just always been very low key, laid back, mellow, and it's just made it more when I've taken cycles and stuff. But I mean, that's the thing too. There's so many different compounds. Some things are right. I mean, I've taken every single thing you could think of, so I can speak on experience of years of taking these things. You know what I mean?
So you're an outlier because you're pretty calm, right? But the majority of people aren't like you. They can't just tone it down.
Yeah.
Right. When you come in here, I have my moments where I'm like, shit, I'm going through it. He's grunting and everything. So if you're telling me that there's an individual that's more so on the other side of the aggressive side, the minute they touch maybe a trembolone or I don't really know compounds, maybe like you do, maybe you can touch on it, but that's something they want to fucking stay away from probably.
Yeah, I would. I mean, those people that are taking tren just for fun because I feel great and I'm strong and all this, and I would never tell somebody to take something like that unless you're doing it for competitive purposes for the certain look. right? Like to preserve your muscle mass when you're at 3% body fat, things like that. Like most people that just touch these things for fun, like, and I know because I like just coaching people.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and it's like some of the cycles I see people they come to me with, and I'm like, hey, listen, like I really don't care about the money. Like if you can't get like a full panel of blood work like every month for the first 6 months, like it's not even worth that liability, you know?
Sure.
Um, going through it with young kids, I'm like they've come to me on stuff, and it's like such you're teetering a double-edged sword because like you can't just pull a 19-year-old off of everything cold turkey. So you have to like kind of cycle it off, and then then their testosterone screwed up. You have to keep them on test because you take a man off the hormone that makes us go, then you're asking for issues.
Sure.
But like, who the hell would think at 20 years old you have to be on TRT? Like, it's great. It's not normal.
Yeah.
Social media has pushed that though.
Absolutely.
Like it's the like everybody, like you said, I mean, social media is an illusion. You know, it's a certain aspect of your life, not a full 360 of it. So you said earlier, like everybody wants to look like Chris Bumstead. Well, it's like they're like, oh, I'm going to train like him. I'm going to take this. I'm going to look like him. And it's like, because his cycle gets released or whatever like that. And they have that illusion of, if I do this, I'm going to look like that. When no, motherfucker, 99.9% of people aren't going to look like that.
Like you're
It's,
like you
The way you eat,
you're
you
sitting
train.
down.
yeah, it's,
Genetics,
Gen-
too. Nobody wants. Bodybuilding is 99% genetics.
Yeah.
I don't care if you could.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I've heard other influencers and other YouTubers say genetics don't play that much of a part. They'll try to downplay it. They won't completely dismiss it. But I'm glad you said that.
I don't know
You
how
touched on
they.
that.
I don't know how they don't though, right? Because the amount of fat cells you have, that's predisposition. That's genetic.
Oh, that plays a part,
right?
Yeah.
Like you can't just wake up one day and be like, "Hey, I'm going to start taking steroids and I'm going to be a professional bodybuilder or I'm going to look like a professional," whatever the case is, and just think that because you think it, your genetics are changing, your structure of your shoulders, the structure of your waistline. Like you can take all the steroids you want and train perfect for years. If your waist is genetically your bone wide and all, you're not changing your genetic structure.
Like so
bones.
everybody's chasing this Arnold Schwarzenegger look for decades and eons. People's always chasing this image, and that's his look. That's his genetic compound that made him exactly look the way he looks. You still look amazing, but you're not going to look like him. And I think again that's body dysmorphia because now you're looking in the mirror every day. And let's just say you're reaching success. You have a beautiful physique that's outmatched the average guy. But in your mind, you're still not on his level, but you're already surpassed so many other guys percentage wise. Body dysmorphia.
Yep. That's what I tell clients. I'm like, listen, like you have your own lane, right? Sure. It's good to have ambition and look up to somebody.
Sure.
I want to look like this or this, but you're in your own lane, right? You work hard, stay in your own lane, and you're going to look as best as you're going to look.
Sure.
And that's all you can only control you, right? And I think a lot of social media has really, in my opinion,
I think it did a lot of
yeah, as good as it can do for like free marketing, businesses, like for me for coaching, it does wonders.
Sure.
But on the flip side, there's a double-edged sword with everything now in society, and it's like it's created such false hope for so many people and so much misinformation. Like you see a professional bodybuilder, like you said, you're talking about their cycle, and it's like a kid literally will go to like the guy in the gym that's making this shit, and they're like their kitchen sink.
Yes, like a drug deal.
You don't even you don't even know what's going like in the bottle, and then people are wondering why they have like infections and abscess and all that. It's why their hormones are screwed up. It's bad, and I can only speak over this because experience, and I see it with clients. That's why I'm so selective now of like who I'll even coach.
Yeah, because like you said, it's a liability factor sometimes with ages. Like you don't want to I don't want to speak for you. You don't want to dive into something and be like, hey, do this, this, and this if you don't even believe that's what they should be doing. So it's that fine line that you're balancing with a moral aspect of it too, which is everything that people don't do. Because you said earlier that it's not about the money for me, man. Like I just don't think you should fucking do this.
Oh, it's one of them things too that a lot of people don't want to hear. It's like the harsh reality is you can have the best genetics if you can't keep it together up here.
Falls apart, man.
And you shouldn't be taking these hormones unless your mind is in the best possible place it can be.
I'll agree with you.
It's going to make it worse. If you are already depressed, feeling alone and all this, and and that's the thing too. A lot of people will feel these things and they have no reason to, but again, it's a chemical imbalance,
Mhm.
right? Things like this. And if you're in that state and then you go ahead and you think it's just right to put 11 compounds in your body and prep for a bodybuilding show, sure, you're going to feel great in the moment. Those 20 weeks, I look great. You have that end goal. And then what happens as soon as that show's done? You're fucked. Like your hormones are down. Now you have to bring them back up.
Like relapse.
And now the depression's still there. And you're just going to be fighting it worse because you're going to feel worse coming off the
You're
hormone.
behind the 8 ball.
Then a lot of people don't even touch on the fact that you're not going to look like that forever, and then that fucks with your head. And now it's like now we're just piling more shit on top of an already depressed state, and it's like you're just continue to dig the grave.
Correct.
Get out of the grave,
hmm
and then do these things.
Yeah. I got something else for you too. I think a lot of people have the illusion, and I'm not a chemist nor a doctor, so I'm generally curious on this too. A lot of people think because something's an injectable that it's safer than doing an oral. And I guess I get like the logic behind it, but I think where they forget is that it's still extremely dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the whole injectable versus an oral thing comes from, okay, you're putting oral in your body and your liver has to process this.
hmm
But on the flip side too, it's like you're injecting something. Okay, now you're worrying about an infection in the injected site. You're worrying about that infection traveling. Most people aren't freaking clean. They don't even know the proper cleansing protocols before you even stick this needle in your shoulder, go wherever. And then they don't even know what the hell they're taking. Has your shit been tested? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a valid point too.
So who's to say this doesn't have like particles in it that someone again just made this crap in their kitchen?
Yeah.
And now it's traveling to your liver and it's doing more damage than the oral's doing. Well, I've seen people with extremely elevated AST and ALT levels just from taking vitamins.
Really?
Because they're not even taking shit to protect their liver.
Interesting. Okay. I know I guess I never thought of that.
You know what I mean? Like people just don't think about the ramifications of shit before they do.
Yeah.
They just think want to look. That's great. You're not going to look good on the outside unless your insides look good, and that's just the reality of the situation. And if it appears not right,
Well, that's everything.
Yeah,
like you said earlier.
From your experience, because you have the experience, you've seen it, done it, and from seeing other people, what type of steroids you would say that you saw, or maybe in yourself, whatever the case may be, seem to do more damage than others?
The orals for sure.
Okay.
And definitely trend. I hate never like trend. It's
Single figure is the most popular. Like
Most
you hear that.
trend.
Anadrol.
Yeah, I took Anadrol twice. The one time my blood pressure went through the roof, and the other time I just couldn't eat because it's destroyed your appetite because it trashes your liver. Yeah, so I barely touch that with clients either. Like you might use a low dose of these things, and then yesterday I just got an email from a client. He's like, Steve, my appetite is shit, and it's been like 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, we'll just cut it out, and that's at 20 milligrams. There's people taking like 100.
50 and 100. Yeah, I've seen it. I know guys. Not the name drop.
Yeah. But Trent definitely was halo testing as well.
That's fucking scary.
What Trent?
No, halo testing, right? That's like, is that one of the most toxic things out there?
But yeah.
It
gets the results, so that's why people.
Dude, it's
like you take that like 2-3 weeks out from a show, keeps preserves what when you're lean, the tissue, keeps your strength up, so you can obviously still like perform in the gym and such. But yeah, that stuff will like make the calmest person just want to like flip it far.
Yeah, I've never touched it, but I know guys that have, and they said that.
I've done it every prep I've done
at the end, right?
Minus the first one that I was on.
Okay.
PEDs, yeah. It sucks.
Yeah, so when I was 27, that's when I dipped in because I was trying to do a competition with Nick Bono. And Nick was a great coach, very smart guy, very smart guy. Nick is extremely intelligent, along with Stretch.
Yep.
Stretch is my dude. I love Stretch to death. They taught me so much. But there were certain protocols that I was like, dude, I don't feel right on stuff. And the number one thing that I will contribute that to when I was like 28 was fucking Clenbuterol.
Oh yeah,
that shit.
Anxiety,
Yeah, exactly. So my heart, like I'm on the treadmill thinking I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack. Yeah. I never touched it again. That to me, Clenbuterol was the scariest thing I've ever taken. Exactly.
It's not an anabolic steroid.
It's a stimulant, right?
Yeah, it was used for asthma. It's Yeah, it was used to like it helps, open your air passages and breathe better, which it does do. Like it can
But
definitely.
that's to the extent where you also feel like
Yeah,
let's have a heart
yeah,
attack.
and then I guess I don't know the history of it at all, so I don't want to
That's what I'm
misspeak. But
coming to join you.
yeah, but people started taking it for fat burning properties. I mean, I have clients take it all the time, and I
Yeah.
tell them like, listen, if you can't handle it, you just let me know, and we just cut it out. Right?
That was the scariest thing for me personally.
Why not just stick with tests, because your body already has it. So I would say, reading upon it is better, well tolerated. Why people
Yeah.
they can't just stick with that?
Because a lot of these other steroids have different effects, like Tren hardens you up, burns the fat, gives you that look.
Also, there's other accessories that comes with. Oh,
There's a
I thought because
Uh-huh.
Trend game.
I didn't want to just get the
yeah,
same look.
it's a very strong steroid. It's like 2-to-1 anabolic on test.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Got you.
It's crazy.
it is crazy.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff.
So each one,
It definitely
like,
messes with you.
Oh, 100%.
I'll tell you this. When I was 20, 28, 29, my coach at the time like put me on it at the end of it was like the last like 8 weeks or something like that. And I did it once. So my anxiety shot just from having to do it because I was waiting for something called the trend cough. And it never came. But then I started sweating and I like legit fucking passed out.
Yep.
And then when I got up, I was like laying on the bed. I'm like, what the fuck happened? One of the scariest moments of my life. And like, I was like, I'm still going to go fucking work out. Now, I'm not an ego lifter. So I would hack squat maybe like 2 plates and just go really deep and concentrate it. I put fucking 7 plates on each side. Like it was fucking nothing for reps. And there was like, I felt a type of anger that I've never experienced. And after that, even as strong as I was and intense as I was, I fucking threw the bottle out.
Yeah, you don't want to say it.
It scared the shit out of me. That's how strong it was.
Yeah, I forget people like when they're like, I love Trent. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
It's
I really look at people and I'm like,
what's the trend?
it makes you feel like Superman, man.
Your respiratory.
yeah. So you nick a vein and it goes into your lungs, and then you just start coughing.
Uncontrollably.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Do you think you got to call 911? It's the 911 drug.
Feels like it tastes like you're swallowing metal, and it just like it feels like everything's closing up. Yeah.
Dude, it shit ain't no joke. But it never came with me.
Yeah, you're lucky.
It was like hit and miss. And I was waiting for it. That's why I was sweating. I was like, this is coming.
You would feel it.
Real.
Yeah, because it tastes like you're swallowing like metal.
Dude, and the bottle itself looks like rust.
It's orange. Friend's orange.
Looks like fucking rust.
Now, this might be a random question, but is there a different ethnic group of people that may lean more towards this type of substance than others, or is just like everyone?
No, I just think if you're into looking better,
people
just kind of, steroids just kind of a thing, like not everybody, but they are definitely way more common amongst just the average gym goer now than
ever before.
It's crazy.
Around calisthenics kind of guys. So like the guys that I grew up around, there was push-ups, was hanging on the bar.
For the healthiest
Thing
people.
in bodybuilding, dude. Look at MMA.
Yeah.
People just get. And would you ever guess those guys are taking a full cycle? Never. But that's because like bodybuilders eat the proper way.
Yep.
They're training for hypertrophy. So of course that look of bigger muscle is naturally gonna with society. Oh wow, okay, he's big, he's on steroids. Versus like you look at an MMA fighter who's 155 and they're taking things like Winstrol and albuterol and clenbuterol and EPO and stuff to, there's different avenues of what the steroids do.
And Winstrol was tough too.
Yeah,
it fucked my joints up when I was
my back
when I was 28, 29, between 27 and 29, they were my worst fucking like years with my health.
It dries you out so much that it starts to just take all the water around your joints out, and it just
But so it's making you cut.
I got a picture.
That's the only only anabolic I've ever taken. When I took it, I was like, I feel it.
And is that an oral or
it's a whirl? It's both.
There's an injectable, but it's water based instead of oil based, and it feels like you're injecting battery acid.
That means it hurt more water based. I mean,
I want to ask you, how do you know what battery acid feels like?
It's just a guess, you know what I mean? Just burned, dude.
He said it. Yeah, man. I haven't touched that.
I feel like it messes it up for the natural because again, you just want to look good and feel good, but then you take stuff. But then for the guy who wants to be natural, if you're going to a gym where everyone's taking something, you're just like, no matter how hard you work,
I mean, if you eat quality foods and you get adequate rest, you're always going to look good. But you might not look as great as you want to, but with looking that great, you're going to feel like absolute dog shit on a shoe.
Rules apply. Too much of anything is in.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, you got some people who get high, they smoke, but you smoke too much.
I mean, yeah, Johnson. He's talking from experience. He's talking from. He's like, I mean, it is what it is.
This I was 4 weeks out. This was my last show, so that was 2.5 years ago. But I was probably on everything under the sun here.
Wow, you look like a superhero.
Let me see. I remember Steve. Let me see.
I didn't feel like a superhero.
Steve.
I felt like dog shit.
Yeah, but
That's what you see, stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
oh, here you go. Here,
Every 30 minutes,
sweating.
sweating and everything.
That's crazy.
So it's no sleeping 4 or 5
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
You talking about you just
Oh no!
And that's not even. His legs were the most impressive. He had some. Oh yeah,
If you're not
Yeah.
sleeping right. Isn't that part of it? What?
yeah, dude.
Yo, that's
Because it gives you such a definition and shape.
There you go. This was
With
like,
being,
this was like an up close one.
Yeah.
This was like 4 weeks out.
Let's see the.
I see. I got fat legs, dude, but they ain't shredded like that. Like that takes a certain like depletion and a certain. Yeah.
but you gotta be clouded if you're not sleeping.
Beast.
Oh yeah, he was. I don't want to speak for you. Probably zoned the fuck out on that stage.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't know.
You might sleep an hour straight. You're up pissing, sweating. Your sweat stinks like a chemical factory.
I've heard that. I've never taken it long enough to know that.
2-3 weeks out, I would just get up and shower in the middle of the night just to get all the sweat off of me.
Damn.
I'll go to bed at like 9 o'clock, like I still do now, and I'd be up at like 1. I would some nights I'd just play a game of Madden, shower, and then
Oh.
go back in bed at like 3 o'clock.
Fucking mad.
I'm up at 5 just for cardio. Yeah, you become a robot, and that's why now it's like mentally I'm not done competing. With my daughter, I just don't know. I look at her and I'm like, is this really worth it? Like, if I'm taking a year off my life, say, nobody knows if I do another prep, even though mentally I'm not done, how selfish would it be for a plastic trophy? And then look at my daughter and be like, Daddy just killed himself a year sooner. Like, she's changed a lot, and it's like people asking, "Are you going to compete?" It's like, yeah, yes, I want to. In my head, it's like, yes, I am. Then I see her, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? What are you doing? You know?
Wow.
And it's crazy. I say all this stuff, and like people think I'm nuts because like I coach people like through
No.
this stuff, and it's like, listen, man, everybody, you hit different stages of life, right? Like I might be prepping 30 people and have 30 people that are competitors right now that I coach, for example. And 20 of them might be enhanced. And it's like all different ages, mid 20s, late 20s, 30s, whatever the case is, right? And like I always see the most successful people who can handle the drugs the best are people that are already established. They have their kids, they have their spouse, their significant other, they have their career, they have the financial means,
Yep.
and they don't have to stress over that because financial shit. And when you're trying to figure life out and take all these drugs, it's like you're just adding unnecessary stress.
Yep. On top of that, they're fucking expensive.
Yeah. I tell people
They're fucking expensive, man.
Yeah, it is. It's just it's the reality of it. It's to do a show, you need like $5,000 easily.
Yeah.
The drug cycle itself is 2,000. Like whatever way you want to slice it, right? Small doses.
Yep.
1 to 2,000. The show itself, tanning, right? What else you need? Trunks, show fees, NPC card,
All the fucking food.
food. Your
Oh, yeah, your coach. I was competing for one, came in overweight, had a fucking mental breakdown, went across the street and ate 28 donuts and left.
sounds good to me.
Lehigh Valley. It's the only time me and Nick got into a dispute. It's the only time.
And too, like you said, too, Nick's a great coach.
Nick's amazing.
So, and he knows what he's doing, right?
Correct.
The bottom line is too, like, no matter how good the coach is,
Yep.
some people just can't keep it together,
Mhm.
and that's okay, right? Because at the end of the day, there's a reason. There's
Correct.
a reason for everything, right? And like, I don't know, like, how many of you guys like believe in God and faith and all that, but I always believe like you just leave shit to Him, and
I agree 100%.
you know what I
Yep.
mean, 100%. So, what's meant to be will be, right? So, and that doesn't matter, like, right? Nick's a great coach, right? But at the end of the
Amazing.
day, that what you
Yeah.
did had nothing to do with
No,
how the
no.
coach was or the coach in general.
Correct. So I will make that clear. No,
Yeah.
Nick got me where I needed to get.
Yeah.
It was that last week that
It's
couldn't
mentally a fucking
tolerate it. And I think I had come in like a pound over.
yeah, and you got
And it was probably a stress thing. Like it wasn't like his diet. Yeah, it wasn't his diet protocol or his drug protocol or anything like that. It was just more so like I just retained water. So I had to call him and he was like, dude, like I'm coming up. Like I'll bring a diuretic and all this. And he had me fucking stay up all night to walk up and down fucking steps.
to flush water.
Yeah. And it was just like I couldn't take it anymore.
Sport, man.
And I told him, I said, don't bother because like I didn't want to, you got to realize like everybody thinks because I'm paying you, right? You gotta, no, I gotta make you look good too. That's what nobody talks about. I have to make my coach look good just like he has to make me look good. It's a trade off.
I've had people drop out. Last year, I had two people, a female and a male, drop out at 3 weeks out. They just couldn't, and they looked phenomenal. Like I got them both back on track from their previous coaching experiences. The one girl's hormones were messed up. We got her period back, and then we prepped her. Both of them complete 180. There wasn't even drugs involved, and they just couldn't handle hunger, the cardio, and they weren't even. I was like, I'm not even pushing you guys like 100%. Like there's just you have to push based off of the feedback that their body's giving and all that. And the girl was doing only 50 minutes of cardio.
15?
50.
Oh, 50.
I mean, but still, like for some people
In the bodybuilding world, that's like, yeah.
And he was doing 45. And they were both in phenomenal condition and all that. And they've just both, the girl was like, she binged and she gained 18 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Your body's not used to it.
Yep. Nope. And then he just like, Steve, he's like mentally, Steve, I can't handle this.
Just like a 9 to 5 on top
But
of
it seems like no
9 to 5,
matter
like,
even you going through these, like even these people who stepped out, they got a chance to know who they were.
Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself. I will say that.
Seems like it's a journey.
But a lot of, again, I feel like when you get into it for the right reasons, you are a lot less inclined to give up. And I mean, no matter what we want to call it, right? If you quit before that deadline, you gave up. It is what it is, right? And I mean, for whatever reasons it is, right? You respect it either way. You know what I mean? And I think it takes a really strong person to admit, like, okay, I tried this and it just wasn't for me, versus continuing to try something and just messing your mental health up or physical health or
Totally agree with you, man.
more. You know,
That's what I did. I stopped. I couldn't do it. I tried to do it once. That was it.
see me, like as sick as it is, I like that.
What, like the going through it?
Yeah, like with that picture I just showed you, when I like was like suffering, like I thrive when I feel like that. It's weird. But I also, like I told you guys, I got into competing and training for the right reason.
right.
Correct.
Like if I just train in my shed, right? You know, there's nobody in there. I have no mirrors, and I just blast death metal, and I just fucking train because I just love
Death metal.
I just love to train.
God
I
bless.
love death metal. Yeah.
God bless you, dude.
You got to get to where you're got to.
I've never when you get into things again for the proper reasons, you don't give a fuck who's around. You don't care who's looking at you. Like nowadays, it's people are getting into this stuff again, and it's like they like all the clothing and the tank tops and all that. They like that validation from the outside. You look great, and that's what a lot of it's about now, right? Because of social media.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I don't even own a tank top. What you see me in right here is what I train in. I just wear a hoodie,
The back.
barefoot, or wrestling shoes with holes in them. I still have them. They're 8 years
But you're
old.
also the kind of guy where I feel like the new thing is what's the phrase?
He's the Dorian Yates.
What's the phrase though where the guy like you dress not to impress. Like you fill out a hoodie, so clearly people can tell you got guns underneath you. So I forgot the phrase. Next time I'll have it for you. Yeah. But I feel like at this point, if you have guns and you're always trying to wear,
I mean, you're not.
You like the troops, like you're trying hard. So I feel like that's the new thing now. Is like literally just kind of being who you are.
I mean, I owe still being alive to weight training.
Yeah.
And then like I've always been taught that from my dad. Like, you never forget.
Yeah.
Never forget where you came from, who you are. Like, my dad always tells me, like, if you always think like that kid that wanted to end his life, you will always be humble. And you know what I mean? Like,
And stuck with you.
it still does now, clearly, it just is what it is. Like, people all the time are like, don't you just ever want to go to the gym and like get a change of something? I'm like, no, thinking about that gives me anxiety. Like, I just like to be alone. I like that like solitary,
I like that. I remember that.
confinement. Like I walk in my yard, I go into my shed, I blast my music, I put the heater or the air on, whatever outside tells me to
That's
put
therapy,
on.
though.
Whatever it fucking
It is.
says.
That is my therapy. And I just am lost in my own thoughts for 90 minutes. I blast death metal and I just train.
So do you always train alone, or sometimes do you allow?
Yeah, sometimes, but
That's all the
Some-
one thing you got your dad with you.
yeah, my
That's
dad.
what's up. Yeah, pops with you.
Yeah, my dad's a hard
That's
ass.
what's up, though.
Yeah, it's like when I need a kick in the ass, like
That's what's up.
and I ask him, he's there.
That's dope.
Yeah, there was some like he was over last week. I usually go to bed at 9, but he can't get over until like 8 because of work and stuff.
Mhm.
I was training at like 8:30 with him at night. I was getting tired.
He keeps up. Or is it he keeps up?
Oh,
Let's see.
he's in good shape.
Do you get your belt from him?
My what? My build?
Yeah,
Yeah, my dad's.
the shipwreck house.
We were talking about genetics.
Genetics.
Do you feel like looking at your family's genealogy or just your family?
Yeah, it was my
Do you
dad.
feel like you guys have good genetics on top of that too?
I mean, other people say like they look at my dad and they're like, "Yeah, I see where you and your sister get it."
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Because you hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, I got shit genetics," or "I got crappy
Yeah.
genetics."
I mean, my sister was weightlifting when she was 19, 20 before she got into like doctorate school and all that. And I mean, all natural, and she was a freak. She was like squatting 225 for her. She was like 165 pounds. Like her legs and calves looked like mine. It was ridiculous. And she stopped because she hated the way she looked.
Really?
Because because it started to get to her mental health because she was being judged. She was being judged by other women and men. Her like, well, I guess boys. I don't consider a 20-year-old nowadays a man. There's some. It's far and few between.
Yeah,
But she was being judged, and it started to fuck with her mental health.
It-
And I told her, I'm like, this.
yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's harder on women when they're judged by other women. That's just me.
Yeah.
I understand like men and whatnot.
Again, they were commenting on her glutes.
Yeah, it's
her calves, her quads, and
mhm.
And that's another thing too. The body, anatomy wise, it's all intertwined mentally and physically. So, you keep hearing people doing these competitions, and what's the first thing or what's the main thing that's always getting attacked is their mental health or their mental state. So that really goes to show, like, even when you go into the gym, you'll hear people say, "Oh, I have a New Year's resolution." We talk about this. You are going from eating cheesesteaks and hoagies on New Year's to then a few hours go to the gym.
yeah, it's
You're
crazy.
terrible mindset. You're not going to make it far, which is why most New Year's resolutions do not make it.
Yeah, I don't.
So it's all intertwined. You're going to come into the gym. You have to be ready to go to war. And you have to be mentally there to physically.
Where the mind
execute.
goes, the body follows. I tell
There you
clients that at
go.
least
Yeah.
10 times a week.
Yeah.
They're like, I had a bad week. I'm like, well, you switch your mindset up, your
Yeah.
body will follow. I can guarantee it. It's like,
Sure.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something? I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Being in this industry, you probably heard this quote many a times. Big muscles, small brains.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
does where did this stereotype come
I
from?
think it's ignorance because
But how? How did that even form to even be a thing? Because the amount of anatomy, chemistry, science,
yeah,
math, like the amount of education and knowledge you need to work out on your body. I don't understand how people could just insinuate you just
It
being a
sounds
dumbass.
like, talking to you, like what goes on in the bodybuilding world. They show you on Instagram the outside. You're in the gym for whenever you work out. You're getting praises from people from the outside. But it seems like what's missing is when the lights go off and you go
Yes.
home in that personal life and family
Yep.
and just you sitting alone and that person that got all these accolades and all everybody might be by himself crying.
That's pretty accurate. Because most people don't prioritize relationships. They, like I said originally, right, an hour ago, when we started talking, it's very selfish. And it's like, it's as much as people want to say there's a team, it is a very lonely like thing. When you're 4 weeks out, sure, like you can kick and scream to someone closest to you, but when you're feeling the worst, you take it out on people closest to you. And a lot of people don't prioritize learning how to cope and deal with the different phases of the process of being a competitive bodybuilder. And in turn, a lot of people don't understand it. So they just kind of relationships just go by the wayside with good people.
Sure.
And I think one thing for me, I've always prioritized is balance. And that's huge. I tell people all the time, like, if you're a competitor, right, when it's prep, I'm going to let you know, like, hey, listen, we're not having cheat meals and all this, but in the off season, like, you're going to go out once a week. I don't care if you want to or not. And you're going to eat, whether if you have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a spouse, husband, wife, parents, you're going to go out and you're going to eat. I know. Even if you sit there and you don't want to eat, you're going to sit there because that time matters to other people. No one gives a shit that you're a bodybuilder.
Wow.
No one really does.
Nope.
Like no one cares. They're going to come. They're going to support you on the day of the show, and no one wants to see your freaking Tupperware at Longhorn Steakhouse the next day. They want to be able to enjoy time with you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't prioritize relationships, right? That's one thing I've always made sure. Good relationship with my sister, parents. When I met my wife now, when we started dating, I was 22. We've been together going on 9 years now. And I started a prep like 3 months after we started dating. And as soon as like it was done, that's what my coach told me. And I'm a lot of the way I am as a coach to clients because of my coach, right? Because he's been coaching me for 10 years. And he just always instilled balance. It's all about balance, right? Like you have to have that because relationships are your foundation where you lean on the backbone of you. And bodybuilding shows not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can
It's a moment. It's a moment.
Yeah. So you have to have
Just
stable
comparative.
relationships. You have to, right? So
I think if you're in a relationship and you've never done competitive bodybuilding before, prepping for a show, and then you decide
there's
to
a
get,
chance that relationship
it's going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a high chance.
Especially if you're on
Correct.
drugs.
Exactly. I think that's a conversation you should have with your spouse prior to doing
Yep.
it and coming to a mutual agreement.
Yep.
Because like there's a lot of things you think, oh, I can do this. And then when shit starts to really hit the fan, you're like, I just destroyed a 10-year relationship over
That's the truth.
me wanting to inject shit into my body and get on stage to win plastic.
And you look good for a month.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
And feel like shit for like 5.
it's the truth. And a lot of people don't realize you feel most of the time you feel worse after the show because
withdrawal.
you have to cycle your hormones. You got to make sure things stabilize back up and all that. Like one of the biggest things for me was I always knew I wanted to be a father. So every time I prepped, we always made sure like I got blood work literally the week after the show.
Mm-hmm.
We saw where things were. Obviously, things are going to be screwed up then. And then it was literally 8 weeks after, 12 weeks, and 16 weeks after. And I never touched anything or went back on anything until everything was perfect. And I had a sperm analysis to make sure my sperm was good because I always wanted to be a father. So, but a lot of people don't do these things.
Thing.
Good
And
job.
they wonder why they have kids have issues and health concerns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't put anybody in a prep. I don't care if we've been talking about the show for a whole year. If shit's wrong with your blood, you're not starting prep. At least under me. And I'll just tell people like, maybe I'm just not the coach for you. And that's fine. But one, the liability is not going to be on me. And two, I actually care.
Sure.
And it's like there's life after this. And this is like some people look at me and I'm on a Zoom call with them and they think I'm crazy. They're like, why are you saying this? Like, this is your livelihood. I'm like, because there's life outside of the show.
That's rare hearing you can say that now, though. Yeah, it's rare.
It sounds like if you're going to take the drugs, I don't care what drug you take, you need to know your sources and what you're getting.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
That's huge, you know.
It's like listen, like no one's talking about, okay, you got the name on it.
Yeah.
What's in there?
I mean, you can have stuff easily tested nowadays. You send it out, but people are lazy. People don't do that.
Yeah, just give it to me.
Yeah,
I'll take
you know. Yeah, I mean, it's such a crazy world.
It's a tough industry.
It's very tough, but yeah, people think I'm nuts. I'm like, listen, like, okay, blood work, right? We're starting up. You want to hire me to be your coach? Can you get blood work in the next 2 weeks? Like, I haven't had blood work in years. I'm like, well, I don't care. We're changing that now.
You're getting it today.
And then I'm like, okay, it's June. Say we're going to compete next fall, right? Or say 2025 or whatever, or this fall, whatever. I tell people we need 6 months before we even start a prep with me as a coach. I'm not going into something blindly and I don't know how your body works and stuff. And they're like, well, I want to compete in 4 months because my friends do. I don't care. Like, I'm not the coach for you then, you know, like I'm not just going to take money. Things have to be done right. Right. Okay. And then we get blood work back and they're like, oh, well, we've been working for a year for this. Right. And I'm like, well, your liver enzymes are skewed. And then you find out the client hasn't been taking the proper health supplements. Well, I couldn't afford it. Well, then you can't afford to be an enhanced bodybuilder. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
You need to be able to afford. And I tell people this right from the start.
You have
It
to.
looks like an expensive lifestyle.
I'm like, if you're going to go and you're going to go ahead and pay me $300 a month to coach you, then make sure your ducks are in order. And that's why I'm so hesitant to coach a 20, 21-year-old because like all they want nowadays is drugs.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're
It
like,
sounds
what
like-
can I take?
Yeah.
You know,
It sounds like when you first came on here and you spoke about getting in it for the right reasons. So that's why you're gonna run into problems if person ain't getting it for
Yep.
the right reasons. When I tell you about blood work and I tell you about this, you're giving me resistance because you originally didn't get in for the right reasons.
dude, I'd rather, I say this all the time and it's still cinch. I'd rather have 60 clients who listen and 10 of them be competitors who listen versus having 100 clients and 50 of them be competitors and 40 of them don't listen. Because it's just, you run into just headaches,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's just headaches.
Like you said, the guy with his friend getting in because of his friend. When you and your friend are 1-on-1, he are not him. No
Yeah.
matter how much you hang it
I
together.
mean, that's why you do a screening process.
You have to.
You have to
Yeah.
because it's like your time is valuable too.
And then sometimes it's
Yeah, the filter doesn't
you know?
catch everything.
Yeah, I talk if it's somebody who's young, I talk to the parents too. Like, yo,
That's actually
we on a Zoom.
very smart.
Yeah, we have to. You know, I just ran into it. 22. He's 22. He did a show Natural with me. 20. Kid looks great, and then we had to talk him and his parents about he wanted to use PEDs because he wants to become a front. So listen, I'm just going to run you down the dangers we need blood work, all this. Everybody's on board, and going smooth, flawlessly. The kid puts like 20 pounds of stage weight on in a year, obviously going from natural to not. Does everything right, listens to me, eats all his meals, trains right, does all got all his form right in the gym, his mechanics, all that. Perfect model of what you want a 22-year-old who's starting to take low doses of things or his first cycles to do. And we just had a phone call a month ago, and he was like, yo, Steve, I think I need to take a break. My mental health's not good. Like, all right, listen, this isn't like you because I know that if coached him for 3 years. Let's hop on a call. Me, him, his parents hopped on a Zoom call for an hour, got to the root of it. He's like, listen, I just don't mentally, it's fucking with me to have to eat all this food, get a little chunky and fat. And he's like, I'm just going to be honest, the hormones are really not what I thought they would be. And I'm like, to 22 to admit that, like,
Wow.
you're going places, kid. So now we're cleaning him out.
Respect.
We're going to get him leaner, and we're just going to have him be like, in the gym. He wants to train and eat like a bodybuilder, but he said he mentally feels better when he's a little leaner, can see that. It's like, dude, I'm your coach. We'll do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a fuck about competing, man. You're 22. You don't got to take these hormones. And now we're cleaning them out. But
That was a beautiful thing. He found himself.
yes.
And at that age,
And I'm just like telling his parents, I'm like, this kid's like, he's got a career already. He's got his head on right. Like, but now, then I run into the other side where it's like, I'm trying to tell a 24-year-old, 25-year-old, like, yo, listen, you're expressing that you have depression issues, like to me and publicly on social media, and you're not doing a show in like 6 months, dude. Like, there's no way until you get help and you get better that this is, and like to go back at your coach, I'm like, yo, you're not okay, man.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think it's normal? And how are you going to normalize the fact of thinking it's right to put all these hormones in your body that you know are going to enhance your already raw, like messed up state of mind
Sure.
for a plastic trophy?
Sure.
And I don't, to me, it's like, I don't care who it is, how close I am with you. If I'm looking out for your well-being and you don't want to listen, if I've been coaching, I could be coaching you for 12 years. I don't care. Like, your health, mental health comes first.
Yeah.
And if you can't see that, then again, I'm not the coach for you. Because somebody will pump you full of that stuff and not give a shit about you. But I'd rather have a coach who cares about me. You know what I mean? From every avenue, not just to post me up on social media, say my client got first place, hire me.
Mhm.
Wow.
It sounds like, a lot of men, it doesn't matter. It can be whatever you're going through. It sounds like as a man, you don't get stronger at something until I would say you admit you've lost control if you're going through something.
You have to. You
gotta
don't,
look
as a human, you don't grow unless you go through tough shit.
Right.
And I've,
like that kid, he comes to
Yeah.
you and says, hey man, I want to do this and
Yeah.
that. It's like the mental health. He got stronger and you saw the strength in
you
him.
can see it.
Because
I'm like, dude, you're 22.
He hit it head
You're in commercial gyms nowadays and on social media where all it's pushing is 22-year-olds that have 100,000 followers or making 10K a month on TikTok and YouTube. And you're here on Zoom with me telling me that these hormones and these steroids are not what you thought and not what you want. Like, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Respect.
That's why I told his parent, like, this is a good kid. Like, you raise it. Like, how many most 22-years are just going to keep messing themselves up
They would
for the turn.
They would just suffer through it until something happened.
Yeah.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I tell, like, that kid reminds me of me, right? Like, at 18 or 17 when I was suicidal, being bullied, right? And didn't want to live. It's like you grow up when you're in those shitty low situations, right? So I went from like 17 to like 25 mentally real quick because you have to. That's why, like, at 20, when I was 22, 23, people were talking to me and they thought I was 30.
Yeah.
And when I would tell people I'm like 22, they're like, what? It doesn't even make sense.
Been through shit.
And I'm like, I
Fast.
literally was suicidal and tried to kill myself 4 or 5 years ago, and then when I was 25, my house got destroyed. My parents are going through a divorce. It's like, you go from 25 to 40 real quick. You know, you have no choice but to grow up.
Yeah, those dark moments in life, like you said, you grow up really fast.
That's what a lot of kids are missing nowadays. Everything is handed, and we're in a society of entitlement.
Everyone's pacified in this culture.
Dude, when I was 15, my mom took me to Rita's Water Ice. She literally went to my high school and got working papers. I had no idea. She brought me there on a Monday. She said, "Yeah, you're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The papers are already signed 4 to 10. We'll come get you." And every Friday when my paycheck came, I went to my parents.
Respect.
Made you the man who you are, man.
Yeah.
You learn quickly that PSG bill that you kept looking past.
Oh, yeah.
It's money that goes towards that.
Yeah.
Most kids just look by. Well, it's your middle.
Well, that's why I'm third. I'm third. I have no debt.
That's a blessing.
That will lower anxiety. You got
Imagine if you had debt. Yeah.
If you're paying attention.
But it's my parents, you know, man. That's what I attribute it to. You know, it's the way you're raised, the way the people and the relationship that you are around and you value and you make sure that you stay connected with.
Correct.
And you're aligned with the right people. You can shapes who you are. You know what I mean? Especially in your 20s, it's so important.
A lot of people in their 20s, you hanging with people because of what's on the outside. A lot of times,
it's all bullshit, man. That's what it all is.
The surface.
It's who's got the coolest car now. Who's got the? I could care less about cars and money and.
Then when you have that down spiral, you look around, those same people ain't there. But you didn't know no judge of character. You was judging them by what you saw.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's what you was.
Yeah.
That was your friendship.
Shit. I always say, man, it's always so important. Like I pride myself that if like somebody mentions my name, that nobody has anything bad to say. Like that's so important to me.
That's a good way to live by. A good statement to live by.
It's the most important thing to me. You know, like because it's just how individuals look at you, and that's called respect.
Yeah, you're also
everything.
You're carrying your father's last name, man. That's a big thing. Yeah. You're carrying a legacy behind you.
And my daughter has my last name.
Correct.
That's important to me.
It's
too,
a big thing.
You know, so like I'm teaching her now. No. She don't know what it means. Like you will.
You go learn today.
Because when I was 3, I knew what no was because my mom whipped my ass.
That's a big lesson.
Yeah, she did. I got hit when I was a kid.
I got knocked off the side of the couch, man.
Oh, I got hit with pans, dude, spoons. My mom don't care.
Outside of your home, people gonna say shit.
I got hit with a vacuum wire. That was fucking scarring.
It's never going to be as harsh as a stranger on the street saying no.
Yeah.
They could do anything to you. Mom and dad ain't going to do a certain thing.
Well, most kids nowadays don't know what no is. And I'm like, you're 20.
They're actually shocked when you
tell them.
Oh, when you say kid. Okay. So you're 20, man.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you're not a kid.
You got grown man kids. Yeah. They're out there.
Oh, no, that's what Steve said earlier.
At 20,
40-year-old kids.
At 20, I was already in therapy for 3 years. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what they would know?
No, it's...
Yeah. True.
You know what I mean? Most kids have like $80,000 cars now. As soon as they get their license, I'm like, what are you doing? You know what the disservice you're doing?
Not even that. It's expected. They actually expect to have a nice car when they get their license. That's crazy. That's wild. That's wild to me.
What's even wild
I was shocked when I got mine.
What's even wild is that a car can make you think that's civilized success.
It's not. Well, that's why.
Even more wild. Like that necessarily don't mean
well,
nothing.
You're in high school though.
Because you're looking for what other people.
The kids on the bus like, yeah, all right.
Because the kids on the bus are the ones that you want them looking at you.
Absolutely.
But when you down and got none, those kids on the bus ain't the ones necessarily.
For me in high school, right? 9th, 10th grade, I didn't fit in. 11th grade, I started getting bullied. And then once my dad got me into weightlifting, I just couldn't wait to get home and squat in our basement. Mm-hmm. That's all I cared about. So it was like, it gave me a purpose and it really shifted my mindset from, I want to go home and I just don't want to live anymore, to I want to go home and all I want to do is just listen to Metallica with my dad and squat.
I understand, man.
Yeah, that's all. Then
the fathers are important. It sounds like your pops is a good one.
Yeah,
fathers are important.
He's very my dad's just like this. There's no like options. It's either like, okay, this is what it is.
Sure.
And like I remember like we were in my basement in my house in Cherry Hill where I grew up. And my dad bought a dingy squat rack. This is like when I started lifting. He was like, listen, we're not doing this bullying shit no more. It was like, we're going to get you up in weight. So next year when you're a senior, if someone messes with you, just fucking punch.
I was about to say,
he's such a fucking puncher.
So my dad, he never got involved with the logistical shit at the school. That was always my mom, like going there, cursing at the principals, what the hell's going, all that shit. Yeah. My dad was always in the background, like, okay, well, okay, clearly something's going on there. We gotta make sure you can defend yourself so you don't feel this way. So he bought this dingy ass squat rack from the Pennsauken Mart. I don't know if you guys remember.
I know what the Pennsauken Mart is,
He
man.
he comes home with this rack and with this rusty ass barbell and with some 45s, and he put a 45 on the bar. He's like, "Oh, I couldn't get the bar off the rack."
Yeah.
So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when I got home at 4 o'clock from school, I got off. I was a big bowler too in high school. I still bowl now, but we'll get into that after. So I would get done bowling. I'd get home, go right into the basement for 2 hours. We would just squat. It was like just as long as it takes you to get 10 sets of 10. That's what we do. So our neighbor at the time was this Oriental dude, and I would always just go off the cellar door, start puking on the grass. He starts screaming at my dad outside the window, like child abuse, all this shit, dude. It was so funny. So I'm outside, I'm puking on our AC unit, and the Cherry Hill police pull up to the house. I got my shirt off, my shorts on, barefoot on the grass, throwing up, like stepping in my own puke. The cops are like, "What's going on here?" I can't talk. My dad comes up because my dad's very big on a stopwatch. He's like, "Yo, 2 minutes is done. Get your ass inside. I don't care if you're throwing up."
Got you.
He comes out. The cops are talking to him. The stopwatch goes. Turns like, "Yo, get your ass downstairs. You got to do another set." The Oriental guy screaming out of his window. The cop, 2 Cherry Hill cops were talking to my dad. So, "Yo, you mind if we come in?" My dad's like, "You can come in," but he ain't stopping yet. So the cops have no idea what the cops are going on.
Wow.
The cops come in and Godsmack was blasting.
Oh God.
And I'm just squatting, like still have puke coming down my face, squatting. The cops are like, "What the hell's going?" There's a dingy light over the rack, no carpet.
Your dad like this.
And my dad just sitting on the bench as the cops are walking around the basement, and I'm squatting. He's like 9, 10, gets done, racks it, and then he stops the music for the police.
Wow.
The cops are like, "Can we ask what is going?"
Yeah.
My dad's like, "We're just working out.
Your dad's a beast, yo.
We're just working
Your
out."
dad's a beast.
He more importantly instilled character in you. Like that's
Absolutely.
That's why I am the way. That's why I've been the way I am.
That's what
Still
all
the
that
fear of
means.
death.
This
It's
character.
crazy. My dad's nuts. He's crazy now.
Dog.
Lectures me.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was like looking at the video. I was like, "Yo, your dad was like, you said he got it. He was keeping up with you." And
He lectures me now. Last week I called him about something, and we're talking about my daughter, and it turned into an hour lecture about how I need to save more money. So what the fuck? I just
always
Shut
got
up,
a squat.
bro,
He
man.
built a foundation, not just the movement you was doing.
yeah.
How he attacked.
Well, I was like, when can I curl and get bigger arms? He's like, no one cares about that.
Don't found from the bottom.
That's what he says. He's like, no one cares about that. He's like, you need legs. That's what. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you need legs. He's like, and that's where all the strength is from.
But it's true. Those compound presses, squats, deadlifts, you can start out doing that alone. Then you can start hitting the accessories and
My
stuff.
dad's nuts, man. With my Lyme's disease, my knees kill me now from that, and because like I said, it attacked me from an arthritis standpoint. And he don't care. He don't give a shit. He was over last Wednesday night.
Excuses.
We were doing quads, and I had 5 plates on my hack squat. And he's like, "Yo, what are you doing? You're doing all this pause shit at the bottom, going slow." He's like, "You have this band on here." He's like, "What are you becoming?" And I'm like, "I got Lyme's disease." Then he's like, "You don't got Lyme's disease right now." And he puts like a 6 plate on. He takes the band off. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't want to." Like,
You don't have to walk no more.
he don't care.
There's people out there.
That's the gangster though.
He don't care.
You, yo.
There's
That's
people
what's
out
up.
there not.
Oh man.
Nah, he don't care.
Oh dude.
I think every young boy needs that though.
Yeah, my dad
Every
kicked
young
my
boy
ass,
needs
man.
That's the way to be.
Like, unfortunately, a lot of young men, a lot of boys are not getting that.
Men
Yeah,
don't
not
like
getting
a
any
lot
of
of
that
young men don't like resistance of any sort.
My dad
Which is why you
lectures,
need that though.
has lectured clients of mine in my shed.
Really?
Yeah, one of my clients, Justin, was over. He does men's physique, but
Okay.
he's got tiny legs. And he came into legs with me on a Saturday, like 2 months ago. My dad came over, and he walks back there, and he looks at me in front of the kid, in front of my client. He's like, "Steven, this kid's lazy." And he's on the leg press, like can't breathe. And I'm like, "What are you talking?" Like, I'm like, he's in the middle of set. My dad's, "No, I just watched this. This kid's lazy. He needs to push more." So my dad puts like 3 more plates on for him. The kid literally starts hurling outside of my shed.
That's what he was looking for. If you're not throwing up, you're not doing it.
He's
right.
great. My dad's nuts.
Oh man.
Last prep.
Did your dad used to train?
So
Yeah.
so when somebody signs up with you as a coach, they get your father too. That's a big selling point, guys.
This was 2 years ago. He was still
How old's your dad?
64. He was 61 then.
Let me see.
So that's why though. Hearing
That's
this-
impressive,
hearing
man.
the stories,
You know-
that's exactly why.
Not the size, the condition.
Yeah, he's-
At 61.
You can't give a man like that excuses.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Nah, he's like, bitch, I'm 61. You fucking 12, acting like a bitch.
He does not care. But it's funny too. Then I see him with my daughter, and it's like
Totally different man.
Straight bush.
like grandpa was completely different. With me though,
Yeah. But come on, you're gonna be tough on even granddaughter wise. You're gonna be tougher on the boys than you are the daughters.
oh well, yes, my dad with
Every
my dad
household,
with
yeah.
my sister, way different.
Right. They can do no wrong.
When she was training and competing, when she did the one show she did, he was in the gym with her. He was just like that though.
Yeah.
Like no excuses. But with me, he's always been like it's how he was when I was a teenager.
Yep.
It's no different now. It's the same. The same.
That's
thing.
awesome, though, man. That's awesome.
He yeah, I mean he's probably the main reason I am the way I am, you know. My mom too, but my mom was more nurturing and
So you had a good balance.
yeah, I did for sure.
Not many people have that.
Yeah, no.
So you've been pretty blessed, man.
Yeah, I mean it's now obviously they're divorced, right? So
Mhm.
it's a divided family, but
They still love you equally, though.
of course,
You know what I mean?
But I get it's different now
Mhm.
than when they're together because like
Correct.
my dad was when he was always being hard on me, my mom
Yeah.
was there to intervene and be like, "Yo, you need to stop."
Sure.
Now there's my dad don't.
Now your dad's trying to kill you on the hack squat,
Still, still.
and your mom's giving you mental talks over the
Yeah.
phone.
He is with me though. Like he doesn't want me to compete again
No.
because of the drugs.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking out. He's got that granddaughter now.
Yeah, I look.
That's
Like I
a
said
scary
earlier,
thing,
I
man.
look at her, and it's like if my daughter wasn't there, I'd probably be in prep right now.
I believe it. You got a different why.
It's 100%.
That's the biggest thing, man.
As soon as she was born, man. As soon as
Oh,
she came out, dude.
different light bulb
Oh,
one.
it's actually crazy. I don't know. Do you have kids? Do you
It's a blessing.
do you have kids?
Hmm.
You do have kids. Yeah, so it's completely different feeling. You don't have any kids yet, right?
Not that I know of.
No.
No, I don't have kids.
It is crazy, man. It
That's
changes.
purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I still train, I still eat my meals, I take testosterone still. Like I have to, you know what I mean, at this point.
Yeah,
But I mean, I feel great.
that's a great thing, man.
It's great. I don't.
I'm glad you found that balance. Though.
Yeah, man, listen. You know, I'm glad that you came on because you enlightened a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you talked about shit that people don't want to hear. I hate to say it, but yeah, no, we appreciate having you on, Steve. Twan, what do you got for Steve?
I don't have any other questions left, but I do want to say thank you for your transparency.
Yeah, man.
Speaking
Yeah.
about from the suicidal thoughts to just the dark depressive state, that in the fitness realm. Thank you for your transparency.
Yeah.
We need more men to just be more
And
transparent.
there is one more thing I do want to touch on too that I didn't touch on. It's just a lot of people, if they're listening, like that want to compete or do, find something outside of competing
Mhm.
that you also are passionate about so you have an outlet. Like for me, it was bowling. As crazy as that sounds,
No,
like
no,
my big
yeah.
ass bowling.
Yeah, no.
I've been bowling since 6th grade. And I still go every week now. I love bowling. It's one of my favorite sports.
I actually like the bowl.
You like bowling?
I've been bowling for a little bit now.
We can go. I love it, dude. I got my bowling balls in my truck. I
Get
go
nice with it.
every week.
I got you.
And me and my mom, we're in a league together, all that. So
Yeah.
you have to find an outlet outside because
Yes.
you could like break your leg. And guess what? The gym's not there anymore.
Yep.
You have to
And
find
you
something.
lose yourself. I got you.
And you get worse mentally, you know? Yeah.
No,
Of course. Yeah.
no, that's a big fact.
It is.
Big fact.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
You talk your talk, bro. That's what it's all about, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course.
Yeah, and then I guess my thing for you, Steve, is if there's anybody that's listening and watching that wants to link up with you as a coach, do you have availability?
Yeah. So my Instagram, my long ass last name, Steven_Mitropoulos.
I'll put it in there
Yeah.
in the link. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just message me on
Because now they know everything to expect, man.
Yeah.
They know your dad's gonna be there. Yeah, I know this.
He doesn't care who it is. He's like, I'm like, Dad, you didn't realize like people are like they're not your kid.
Yeah.
He's like they're in your shed. So,
Guys, expect the hurl.
Yeah.
Expect the hurl.
Yeah.
he don't care, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it shapes character.
100%.
Yeah, man.
100%.
Yeah. So
Okay, bro. Thank you.
of course, man. Absolutely.
Steve, absolute pleasure, brother.
Guys,
Absolute pleasure.
stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah.